So Highland Rose Podcast, I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
It's a Throwback Thursday, recorded on a Tuesday, posted on a Monday.
There you go.
You're goddamn right. Equilibrium has not been reset yet. But But looking at the calendar, we're getting there. We're not going to spoil when, because things change. Mm-hmm. But we're getting there. We're making progress towards the equilibrium being reset. We're continuing along with Sleeping with Sirens and their discography, chatting about their 2011 album, Let's Cheers to This. Crazy that this record only came out a year after their debut album.
I mean, the turnaround time is immaculate.
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy.
Because the debut was so solid that when you say, all right, new record the next year, presumably after a bunch of touring and whatnot, who knows what's going to come out of it.
Exactly. Also, what time did you use to make this record? Because if you're fucking on tour, a very successful record, it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, but they managed to outdo themselves with this record, considering the tight timeline that the album was on. This record has got the song "If You Can't Hang" on it. That's the song. I think of Sleeping with Sirens. I think of two songs: "Kick Me" and "If You Can't Hang." And this record's got one of them. But this album's got so many songs on it that I thoroughly enjoy. I didn't spend a ton of time with the debut record when I was super into the band. I obviously knew the hits, but I honestly don't know if I had ever really listened to the album much in full ahead of the review we did last week. But this record, I know I definitely spent a little bit of time with, because I know the hits and I know the deep cuts, and there are so many gut-wrenching songs on this record, and I love it for it. The record has a few more slower tracks than the previous album, but that's okay, because I think that it flows super well, and those slower cuts create such gut-wrenching moments on the album with the way that Kellen is enunciating the vocals, singing, that it kind of creates the same effect for me as the super heavy in your face songs that I like Sleeping with Sirens for. I think that Kellen's vocal delivery on those slow tracks kind of keeps the same kind of vibe throughout the entire record, whether the song is trying to kick the door down or trying to make you cry. For me, it's all the same gut-wrenching feeling.
It's still very emotionally charged. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do It Now, Remember It Later is a fantastic opening song. If You Can't Hang is one of these songs. They're a band that has so many massive songs, but for me, I'm never like groaning at the idea of the song coming on, like listening through this record. There would be other albums that we've done this for, this review series for, where they got one of the big songs and it's like, oh my god, I've heard this song 7 billion times, like whatever. But I've heard If You Can't Hang 7 billion times, probably, because it's on every pre-show playlist and every show
I've been to.
That song comes on, and I wasn't groaning at the fact that I had to listen to it a few times today to formulate a review opinion about the album. Who Are You Now is that one of the first slower tracks that I was talking about, with Kellen's gut-wrenching vocal delivery. A Trophy Father's Trophy Son is easily one of my favorite songs off the album, hands down. It's so fucking gut-wrenching. Like, that's kind of just the vibe of this record, is gut-wrenching, at least for me. And that song in particular basically just surmises the entire feeling that this album has. I don't know, man. It's just the feeling it gives me that fucking rocks my world. Tally It Up, Settle the Score is another one of those big ass songs that absolutely continues to rock. Your Nickel Ain't Worth My Dime is another one of my favorites. That shit is groovy as hell. How dare they groove over the beat like that?
It's insane.
It's absolutely insane that they would do that. And that song fucking rocks. Postcards and Polaroids is another fantastic song. All My Heart and Let's Cheers to This close out the record nice and well. overall, like, this record is just immaculate. There's not a single skip on here for me, and it really does just level up the previous record, which they really came out swinging with the debut. We both said it, in the review. The debut record is always kind of a hit or miss type of thing, depending on the band, depending on a whole multitude of factors. It can be a real time capsule for the band, and maybe them being not so good. Yeah. But that record really was just the groundwork for, and a very solid groundwork for where the band was going to head throughout their entire career. You could see a lot in that record if you had listened to the older works, and then going back and listening to the newest or the oldest album. And to be able to expand on that with the record coming out a year later and it being so solid blows me the fuck away. And this album is solid and somehow a step up from the last one, and that record was phenomenal. This band fucking rocks my shit, and I'm excited as fuck to keep going.
Hell yeah. So again, this is my first time listening to this record in full. As I said in the first review, I have always wanted to get into Sleeping with Sirens. They've always kind of been around, but I've never really listened to them. I have heard of the song If You Can't Hang, but it's like, if it was in a lineup, I could not tell you how it went before this album. But finally listening to it and seeing the name while it's going. Unfortunately, I listened to it like how you listen to albums. I couldn't find my headphones, so I had to listen to it on my phone speaker. I'm sorry, Sleeping with Sirens. But finally hearing the song and seeing the name, I went, oh, I have heard this like a billion times. I do know the words to this. So that's cool. I think Do It Now, Remember It Later is an incredible opener. I think Who Are You Now is really, really good. I think, as you said, like, even though it's still kind of like the slower, sadder songs, it really doesn't slow down. It keeps the energy going. Riffs are still riffing. Everything's still happening. But if you're like paying attention to like the vocals and like what he's saying, it's kind of like, oh shit. Oh, yeah. That's not good. Four Corners and Two Sides, I think, is a great one. Trophy Eyes and Trophy Sons. You're right. That song fucks. I think that's an incredible song. I really like Fire. Tally It Up, Settle the Score is also another one of my favorites. Fucking fuck your nickel ain't worth my dime. I think it's fine, but let's talk about Postcards and Polaroids, because that song is the best song on the record. That song should have been there. If You Can't Hang. That shit. Okay, granted, it is like the poppiest song on the record. It is like the most like pop punk, like cutesy little like jumpy record, a little song, but I think it fits their vibe so well. I love it so much. It's so upbeat. It fucks. I'm sorry, it fucks. I like it a lot. All My Heart is gut-wrenching. It is the slower cut. You're giving me one of my looks. So I don't know. I'm gonna leave that for a second. All My Heart is when they finally do a slow, sad song. I think it is incredibly powerful. I think it's fucking Kellen's vocals in this context is incredible. It shows that he himself is just a fantastic vocalist. I mean, if you didn't pick it up already throughout the last two records and even the newer stuff, it's like he can stand on his own if he needs to, which is why he's had like fucking like 50 side projects. So it's like he could hold his own, and it's fucking incredible. I think The Closer is a great way to finish it off. Still picking it up after the slower All My Heart. But All My Heart, I really like that song, and Postcards and Polaroids are my favorite. And then obviously If You Can't Hang is great, but I think it's just because I know it. But it's so catchy. Like, I understand why it's the big track. It's catchy as shit. It checks all the boxes. But guys, let's give some love to Postcards and Polaroids. If anyone's listening, everyone's listening. Kellen Quinn, play Postcards and Polaroids live. The people will love it.
I can't believe you just skipped over Your Nickel Ain't Worth My Dime like that. That song's a fucking banger.
Fine. I think it's just fine, but Postcards and Polaroids is where it's at. It's just like, it just sounds like he's having fun on the track. You know when you could hear that shit? Like, I know he was like shaking a little ass while he was doing it. That needs more spotlight. I love it. Okay.
All right. Well, those are our thoughts on Sleeping.
I'm gonna get fucking kicked. I'm gonna get kicked in the comment section. I can't believe he didn't.
But those are our thoughts on Sleeping with Sirens 2011 album. Let's cheers to this. As I said, we're diving into the entire discography, chatted about the debut record that's out now. We're going to be chatting about the rest of the albums, every single one, the next several weeks. So if you like Sleeping with Sirens and want to hear our opinions, you can subscribe to us here on YouTube. It helps us out a ton, and it's the only place that we post these throwback reviews. You can follow us on Instagram, it's Good Noise Podcast. Facebook is Good Noise Pod. TikTok is Good Noise Podcast. All the audio streaming platforms are all Good Noise Podcast, and Patreon is patreon.com/Good Noise Podcast. Other than that, I've been Shane.
I've been Gloria.
And we've been the Good Noise Podcast. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.